Okay, I want to try a little experiment. I'm just going to say a sentence to you,
Okay,
and I want you to tell me if it means anything or if it sounds like I'm having like a very specific kind of stroke.
I'm ready. Lay it on me.
I was trying to mew to fix my negative gonial angle, but then a Giga Chad walked in and completely mogged me with his hunter eyes, so I realized it's just cope and I'm doomed to be a gymsel.
Ah, yes. The poetry of modern masculinity.
It sounds like a different language,
Mhm.
right? Like something from a cyberpunk novel.
It really does.
But if you've spent any time at all in the comments on Instagram or TikTok or, anywhere online last year, you've probably seen these words.
Oh, definitely.
And if you're a normie, and we will get to what that means, you probably thought you were losing your mind.
It does feel that way. But what you're actually seeing is this really dense vocabulary from a subculture that has just exploded into the mainstream. It's a dialect that's reshaping how millions of men see themselves.
Exactly. So, to save everyone from confusion and maybe from panic buying bone measuring tools, we are doing a deep dive today.
We are.
Our source is a glossary titled Mogging, Mewing, and Canthal Tilt. It was written by Ryan Collison for Money Sex Nerd back in January of 2026.
And it's part of a bigger series called Toxic Masculinity in 2026, a field guide. But, don't let that title scare you off.
Right.
The article itself is actually really fascinating, sort of anthropological look at what's happening with men and beauty standards. Collison treats this online community like a distinct tribe with its own rituals.
It is so wild. The premise of the piece is basically men have finally discovered what women have known forever, that looks matter.
Right.
And that you can, optimize them.
Right.
But, and this is the key part, instead of using the language of beauty like contouring or highlights, men have invented this pseudoscientific gamer vocabulary that makes it all sound like biohacking.
That is the core insight. It's self-improvement, but it's all dressed up in the language of a video game. You're not getting a makeover. You're leveling up your stats.
You're not insecure, you just got bad RNG on your genetics.
Exactly.
So our mission today is to decode this looks-maxing glossary. We're going to try and separate the healthy self-improvement from the really dangerous stuff, the black pill fatalism.
And figure out why on earth men are pressing their tongues to the roof of their mouths.
Let's unpack it.
Let's do it.
All right, let's start with the big one, the umbrella term, looks-maxing. It sounds so intensely corporate to me, like I'm going to synergy max my quarterly projection.
It just have that ring to it. So in the source, Collison defines looks-maxing as the practice of maximizing your physical appearance by any means necessary.
Any means necessary sounds ominous.
It can be. I mean, it ranges from diet and exercise all the way to plastic surgery, but the key is that suffix maxing.
Oh, right. That's from gaming.
Totally. You max out a skill tree, you min-max your character's stats to get the most efficient build.
So it frames vanity as strategy. It kind of strips the emotion out of it.
Exactly. But the article breaks this down to two main categories, right?
Yeah, the soft stuff and the hard stuff.
So you've got soft maxing. This is the safe zone. This is, reversible, non-surgical stuff.
Getting a haircut that actually works for your face, starting a skincare routine, hitting the gym, whitening your teeth.
Things that, let's be honest, we used to just call grooming.
Or just taking a shower and putting on a nice shirt.
Right. But that's the trick, isn't it? If you tell a certain type of young guy, hey, you should use moisturizer, he might just roll his eyes.
But if you tell him you need to soft max your dermal layer to improve your skin texture stats, suddenly it's a mission.
Precisely. It makes it palatable. It gamifies basic hygiene. And honestly, the source argues this is the healthy end of the spectrum. If this gets a guy to wash his face and dress better, that's a net positive.
I'm not moisturizing, I'm soft maxing.
Hey.
I love it. But then you have the other side, hard maxing.
Yeah, this is where it gets intense. Hard maxing refers to permanent interventions. We're talking plastic surgery, rhinoplasty, jaw implants.
Chin-wing osteotomies, hair transplants.
Chin-wing osteotomy. It sounds incredibly painful.
It involves cutting the jawbone to move it.
And this is where that whole gaming analogy starts to get pretty dark. Because in a video game, an upgrade works. Here, you are literally carving up the hardware of your face.
Okay, so that's the method. But what's the goal? That brings us to my favorite word in this whole thing, mogging.
It is a very sticky word.
It's so aggressive. He mogged everyone at the party. I got hype mogged. It sounds like a physical assault.
It essentially means dominating someone else with your appearance. The term mogging actually comes from an old acronym, AMUG.
Which stood for?
Alpha male of group, from the old pickup artist days. But now it's just evolved. To mog someone is to visually dominate them.
Okay, give me an example. Paint the picture.
All right. Imagine a picture of a huge bodybuilder standing next to a regular accountant. The bodybuilder is wider, taller, more
All
defined.
right.
The accountant just looks like a child next to him. In that moment, the bodybuilder is mogging the accountant.
And the accountant is being mogged.
Correct. And what's fascinating here is the worldview it implies. It turns every social gathering into a competition.
It's not just about looking good for yourself.
No, it's about establishing a visual hierarchy over the other men in the room.
That sounds absolutely exhausting. Imagine going to a barbecue and you can't even enjoy a burger because you're worried you're being mogged by the guy at the grill.
But that is the mindset. It's a zero-sum game of aesthetic dominance. You can't just be handsome, you have to be more handsome.
So, if you want to mog someone, you need the right tools. And the obsession right now isn't just muscles, it's the face. Which brings us to mewing.
Mewing. Probably the most viral concept on the whole list.
It sounds like something a cat does.
Close, but no. It's about your tongue posture.
My tongue posture.
Yeah. It's the act of pressing your tongue flat against the roof of your mouth. The idea is that if you do this constantly, like 22947, over time, it will reshape your jawline.
And where did this even come from? Is this like real science?
Well, it's named after two British orthodontists, a father and son, John and Mike Mew.
So it's named after actual people.
It is. Their theory is that our modern soft diets have caused our faces to develop poorly receded jaws, crooked teeth, and they claim correct tongue posture can fix it.
That sounds kind of plausible, I guess.
Here's the reality check, though. The source notes that the British Orthodontic Society is extremely skeptical. In fact, John Mew was actually expelled from the society.
Whoa, they kicked him out.
Essentially, yeah. The consensus is that while tongue posture matters for kids, the idea that a grown adult can remodel their skull just by pushing their tongue up is, well, minimal to non-existent.
But people are still doing it constantly. I've seen videos of guys chewing super hard gum, doing tongue reps.
Because it costs nothing. Collison makes this point, it offers hope. If you tell a guy he needs a $20,000 surgery, he gives up.
Right.
But if you tell him just hold your tongue like this and you can manifest a superhero jaw, he's going to try it.
So it's not just the jaw, is it? It's the eyes. I had no idea men were measuring the angles of their eyelids. Canthal tilt.
This is where it all turns into geometry class. The Canthal tilt is just the angle of your eye. So is the outer corner of your eye higher or lower than the inner corner?
And I'm guessing up is better.
In this community, yes. A positive Canthal tilt, where the outer corner is higher, is considered attractive. It's associated with what they call
Hunter eyes. It sounds so dramatic.
It is. Hunter eyes or deep-set, hooded lids, positive tilt. It's the predator look. Think of male models.
And the opposite would be?
Prey eyes.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Negative Canthal tilt. The outer corners are lower than the inner ones. It gives you a deer-in-the-headlights look, a look of vulnerability.
So you're either a predator or you're prey.
Okay, makes.
Based on your eyelid? That's so dark.
According to this taxonomy, yes. And the source mentions that men are literally buying digital calipers to measure these angles on their own faces.
Honey, have you seen my calipers? I need to check if I'm still a prey animal.
It sounds funny, but imagine the mindset. You're treating your own face like it's a broken machine.
It goes deeper. The maxilla, the mandible, the gonial angle.
Right. The maxilla is the upper jaw. The holy grail is a forward-grown maxilla. And the gonial angle is the corner of your jawbone under your ear. They want it to be super sharp.
And if it's not?
Then you're recessed, which is basically a social death sentence in these forums.
Okay, that's the face. But what about the body? The glossary mentions frame.
Frame is your skeleton, your shoulder width. And the key thing here is that, you can't really change your skeleton, it's bone.
Which leads to the terrifying idea of frame mogging.
Right. You could be a bodybuilder, completely ripped. But if you stand next to a guy who's naturally 6'5" with giant shoulders, you are being frame mogged.
It's so brutal. Sorry, your skeleton isn't good enough. And that brings us to the term gimsel.
The gymsel. This one is, well, it's pretty tragic. It combines gym and incel.
So what does it mean?
It describes a guy who goes to the gym obsessively, trying to compensate for what he sees as a bad face or a bad frame.
But the community says it doesn't matter.
That's the implication. They look at him and say, nice try, but your Canthal tilt is still negative? The muscles are just a cope?
Cope. We have to define that word because it just drips with contempt.
It really does. Cope is basically anything you tell yourself to feel better about a flaw you can't change.
So if you say, personality matters more than looks.
That's cope. If you say, my partner loves me for my sense of humor, that's cope. It's a way to shut down any optimism.
It forces you to just stare at the raw data of your face without any emotional buffer.
Exactly. You're not allowed to find a silver lining. You're just delusional.
This feels like it's leading us into the hierarchy, the whole caste system of this world.
It's a very rigid hierarchy. At the absolute top, you have the Giga Chad.
The apex predator.
Perfect face, hunter eyes, huge frame. He mogs everyone without even trying.
Then below him, you have the Chad.
Still high tier, attractive, successful with women.
Then the normie.
That's probably most of us. Average looking, maybe a bit of a weak chin. And crucially, blissfully ignorant. The normie doesn't know what his gonial angle is. He's just living his life.
God bless the normies.
Truly. And then at the bottom,
The incel.
involuntary celibate. But the source makes a really critical point here. The term has drifted. It's not just a description anymore. It's become a political identity.
And that links directly to the black pill.
This is the dark heart of the whole glossary. The black pill is an ideology.
What does it believe?
It believes that genetics are destiny. If you weren't born with the right bone structure, it is over. No amount of self-improvement will save you. It's totally fatalistic.
So why even try to improve?
That's the point. The black pill says self-improvement is futile. It's all just cope.
And this is where the article talks about the pipeline problem, which I think is the scariest part of this whole thing.
It's really concerning. I mean, imagine a 16-year-old kid. He's awkward, he has some acne, he wants to get a girlfriend. So he goes on YouTube and searches how to get a better jawline.
Totally normal stuff. He's softmaxing.
He starts there, but the algorithm feeds him. He watches one video, the next one is about mewing, then it recommends one on Canthal tilt. Before he knows it, he's on a forum where people are rating each other's skulls.
So he goes in looking for a better haircut, and he comes out measuring his facial thirds.
And reading comments that say, bro, your eyes have negative tilt, it's over for you. The path from simple grooming to severe body dysmorphia is dangerously short.
And that brings us to the big synthesis of the article. There's this massive irony here when it comes to gender.
This was the aha moment for me in Collison's piece. Men are doing exactly what women have been criticized for doing for decades.
Obsessing over their appearance, analyzing every tiny flaw in the mirror.
Right. Women have had this vocabulary for generations, contouring hip-to-waist ratios. But when women do it, society often calls it vanity, or says they're victims of the patriarchy.
But when men do it,
They rebrand it.
Yeah.
They don't use beauty language. They use, like, STEM language.
optimization, stats, biohacking.
Exactly. It's not vanity, it's engineering. It feels agentic and masculine because it sounds technical. I'm not insecure. I am analyzing the structural integrity of my maxilla.
It's a defense mechanism.
It is, but the result is the same. The article mentions that men are discovering body dysmorphia en masse, and they're realizing what women learned a long time ago.
Which is what?
Optimization has no endpoint.
That's a heavy concept.
Think about it. If you can measure your jaw angle to the degree, if you can measure the millimeter tilt of your eye, good enough doesn't exist. There's always someone with better stats.
The mirror just becomes your enemy.
The source calls it a maze with no exit. You enter wanting to improve yourself, which is a great impulse, but if you adopt this specific worldview, you never win. You just keep measuring.
So to wrap this up, the article does mention a healthy end of the spectrum, right?
Yes, and we shouldn't lose sight of that. For a lot of men, discovering soft-maxing is a huge confidence booster. Realizing, hey, I can dress better, I can get fit. That's empowerment.
Taking pride in your appearance isn't a crime.
Not at all. It's healthy. The key, according to the source, is that the vocabulary becomes a litmus test.
How so?
If a friend says, I'm trying to lose some weight and clean up my skin, that's great. That's normal self-care.
But if he says,
It's over for frame cells, I'm getting mogged by everyone. That is a red alert.
the words reveal the mindset. One is self-care, the other is self-destruction.
Exactly.
You know, we started this whole thing laughing at words like mewing, but when you peel it back, this glossary is actually a map of a pretty serious psychological battlefield.
It is. It's a generation of men grappling with immense image pressure, but they don't have the cultural tools to talk about it emotionally, so they built their own tools out of video game logic.
And sometimes those tools are rulers they use to measure their own despair.
Well said.
So if you're listening to this and you've been secretly worrying about your Canthal tilt, maybe just stop looking in the mirror for a second.
And please, put down the digital calipers.
Definitely put down the calipers. There's nothing wrong with wanting to look good. But if you find yourself analyzing the skeletal structure of the barista at
You
Starbucks,
might be in the maze.
you might be in too deep.
I think the source leaves us with a really provocative question to chew on. We frame looks maxing as self-improvement. I'm optimizing myself because I'm worth it.
Right.
But if you look at the extreme end, the black pill, the surgery obsession, isn't this extreme self-optimization actually just a form of self-hatred disguised as science?
Wow. That stops you in your tracks.
When does the quest for the perfect stats stop being a game you play and start becoming a prison you built for yourself?
It's a heavy thought to leave us on, but I think it's the right one. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
We'll see you next time.